Welcome back, everybody. We're back in the garage again. And tonight, we're going to do some sanding. Now, these little things right here and this center cap, these go together. And these are the finishing touches for that E30. I told you a while back, well, I told you on the previous video that I did the wheels. I sanded them down. And I'm going to show you how I did that. It doesn't take much. These Scotch-Brite pads work perfect for something like that because you really don't want to get any big, deep scratches in these things. See, these are plastic. This is, I think it's aluminum or pot metal. Really don't know. But it's not plastic. Now, you don't want to get any deep scratches in these either. That's why this Scotch-Brite pad works really well because you're able to get, you're able to get scratches in it because you want scratches in the material because that's how the paint is going to adhere. You also, with these plastic pieces, you need to put adhesion promoter because a lot of these paints don't like to stick on there. You don't want to get it all nice and painted and then eventually it starts to peel off. So we're going to go ahead and sand some of this stuff and get them painted. So you don't really need to sand all the paint off of this because this is paint. This isn't powder coat. This, I don't know if it's powder coat or not. I mean, I don't know how they did these wheels back in the day. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. But see how it's a little shiny? It still has a little bit of shine from the old paint. So all you really want to do is you want to get it scuffed up like this where it looks faded. The reason we're using this is because we don't want to warp any of this plastic or whatever material this is. Because this is really thin. If you were to bead blast it or even take it to a sandblaster, this is very thin. I don't know what the heat of the sandblasting would do to it. That's why the reason I painted them by hand. Now the E30, these I forget what these wheels are called, but all these little nooks and crannies, it's hard to get in there. That's why one of these pads works great because you're able to just, do that kind of thing in there, and you're able to get all those little nooks and crannies. How faded it's starting to get compared to that one. I mean, this one's really dirty, but you can see like in these little corners right here, I don't know if you can see where the paint's already starting to fade. So I got to do 4 more and then we'll get to painting. So after you get everything sanded, this is what we're going to use to prep it. This gets all your grease and wax off of it. This is the paint we're going to be using, and this is the adhesion promoter. Now you might be asking, why am I using a rattle can? You can get really good finishes out of a rattle can if it's prepped correctly. In fact, in the description, I'll leave a link to a video from another channel called Paint Society. And he's the one that kind of convinced me to use rattle cans because he does full paint jobs with some rattle cans. I know he uses clear and all that, but these are just wheels. I don't think they're going to need the clear. I've used this on my El Camino when I did the wheels on that one, and they came out amazing. So let's get this thing prepped and ready for paint. Now what you want to do is you want to make sure the part that's going to be painted you don't touch with your hands because the grease off your hands will get on there. And you see, that's what you want to get rid of, all that gunk. But you don't want to use this same side on that. So I went ahead and cleaned it with that. I did the other one with this one, and then I continued here. So now I got all that gunk off of it. So now I'm going to use the other side that's clean and really clean it all off. And then it's ready for paint. So we got the first coat down. I went ahead and spun the wheel caps around so I can get every angle or every side of them right. And I did the same thing with the center caps. So I waited about 10 minutes and now we're gonna put the second coat on and then we'll just let them dry. And I'll let them dry overnight because it's kind of cool tonight. So you wanna make sure the paint sticks. So let's get the second coat on. Well, it's the next morning. They sat all night, nice and dry. Finish came out pretty good. Actually, really, really good for it just being a spray can. Even the center caps came out nice. Now, I am waiting for these stickers that go on these little caps. This cap goes in here. But I did have one that was in decent shape, so I put one of those back together. See? So it came out really, really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on the wheel and show you the final product. And there you go, there's the final product. It looks really good for it just being a spray can job. Now eventually one day, probably never, I'll redo these wheels again because we might replace them. I know these are the original ones and they're pretty nice, but we might replace them. I might get this thing lowered eventually. Well, thank you for joining me again. Again, please like and subscribe to the video. Leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you on the next one.